We're back. Back at it again.
This is episode number 484 of WPwatercooler. Whose WordPress is it anyway?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I'm Jason Tucker. I'm on the internet. You can find me there. I may or not be running WordPress.
Hi, I'm Say, and I'm sometimes on the internet, and but this is the world's most influential WordPress podcast. Our dear co-host Jason Cosper is not with us today, but he'll be back. Don't you worry.
Speaking of podcasts, you can find us wherever it is you can listen to great podcasts, and hang out with us in our Discord over at WPwatercooler at watercoolerslack.lol. Hello.
You could listen. Hi. Technically, you can listen to us wherever you listen to bad podcasts also.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
I think I've made that joke before. Oh, God, I'm recycling jokes. So I want everyone in the audience today, watching, streaming, listening later, to know that I just got into this thing. So as far as like planning our shows, I want you to understand that this is from the hip and from the heart. Because what was I doing? I was fighting with the Astra theme. Oof. Yes, I was. Because you know how like when you're a web dev and you have friends and the friends are like, I can make my website do work. And then you're like, I'll help you. But then you realize that not only have they chosen to build their website with AI, they are also using the Astra theme. Anyway, I have thoughts about the Astra theme. Main one being it is the worst form of hybrid theme you've ever seen. And my dog is eating something over here. Harry, hold on a second. Harry.
Astra is weird though, because it has like it has a bunch of like dashboard sections that are like, you want to build a header? Here's how to make a header. You want a footer?
It's like
here's a footer.
Fractured. And not only that, it is currently in a hybrid state. So it has its own theme options panel, its own customizations and settings. It has the customizer settings, and it has, only if you upgrade, site templates, like for the page template to change, but only on the pro version. So I'm sitting here trying to get a page title to disappear for my friend. And I'm like, I swear I've worked with WordPress since 2006. I promise. I know what I'm doing here.
Display mode.
And you know what's actually funny? And this is a perfect segue into our topic today. And I actually even talked about that with my friend. She was like, well, I just want to copy this page and I'll make it all the same. I can just plug it in if I can copy it. And it's like, hold on, let me get you a plugin to do that. And she's like, what do you mean? Can I just click copy? And I was like, and she's like, on my other website I can. And I was like, yeah, because you have a plugin that allows you to do that. And we went to the pages and I was like, see how there's no copy button? She goes, why wouldn't that be there? Doesn't everyone need that? And I laughed so hard. And I was like, no, what everyone needs, Loren, that's her name is Loren. What everyone needs, Loren, is a duotone filter on their images. That's what they need. Yes,
we do need that.
You need that because yes. So, and I ended up talking to my friend while I swear I wasn't stalling, but while I'm trying to go through Astra's thousand panel deep menus to try to find why the menu text is showing up as white. No one knows. And I said, it's called the 80-20 rule. And this is a core part of WordPress, is that and it's still there. I've checked multiple times on the philosophies page. So unless it's changed in the past 3 months or so. Sorry about my dog, by the way. Can you see my dog back there? There he is. I need a dog. So I was like, now the dog distracted me. Anyway, the point here is that I have to put my dog outside. That is the point. Hold on a second.
Go for it. Yeah, I've used Astra quite a bit in my in different sites that I've built and stuff.
Why though? Why have you used it?
Funky. Well, because I try everything twice, if not 3 times. And sometimes I try something and then I get stuck with it. You know, it's like, oh, this works.
That's
I built all this stuff already.
I was
it's
like,
a pain in the ass to move it from one theme to the next because
that's what I said. I was like, you should change this theme. And she's like, well, after this conference, maybe I'll change my theme. And I was like, you are 100% the person who will be like, all my stuff's in here already. I'm never changing my theme. And that is how Astra gets locked in and continues to exist, because of people just renewing their things, because you have to use Pro to change anything.
Yep.
And then you're locked in, because if you change your theme, everything's built up. It's just, how is this still a problem in 2024? This is
Well,
like,
you're supposed to be able to just copy and paste it because it was just a bunch of comments stuck inside of stuck inside the post. That's it.
right,
You highlight everything, make copy, hit paste, and you're good.
Yeah, it's fine. I actually did end up making her a pattern to copy some stuff. I was like, well, you can make a pattern even though it's not like in the right patterns place. You can make a pattern. You can do it unsynced. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, it's just the new WordPress. Don't worry about it. No big deal. I was like in the site editor part pages where you have to be a pro. And she's like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. Just ignore it.
I tell people at work, my name is not Mr. WordPress, and I did not make this thing.
I know,
and
right?
I didn't have any decisions into how this damn thing was made.
What an amazing segue.
I know, right?
That's really good. So the question I ask myself repeatedly about WordPress is, who's driving this thing? There's this line in this Robin Hood cartoon, and Little John says, who's driving this flying umbrella? And I think about that all the time. Who's driving this flying umbrella?
I think a lot of things are driving it. Honestly,
well,
I think you
not
got some theme developers. I think you got some
80%.
plugin developers.
I don't think that's true at all. It is definitely not 80% of the users driving.
Oh, no.
The needs of 80% of the users driving anything. No. I would say it's probably the opposite, in fact, that 20% might be influencing what happens in core and what happens in actual WordPress. But the core question we're getting to here is, really, whose WordPress is it? Because we've all been sold the dream, right? At least I was sold the dream, and I believed in the dream. I knew the dream was dying. Many people have told me the dream was never a dream, or it was only a dream. Yeah, like Morton of the Web, Morton Rand Hendrickson, whose last name I can't pronounce. He's like, it's a lie, right? Like the bazaar and the cathedral and the common areas, it's all a lie. The cathedral owns the bazaar and is, the landlord and renting it out. And, I didn't want to believe it for a really long time. But when you get right down to it, and this is actually something that's been talked about a lot. So we can't get through this topic without saying the name Matt Mullenweg. So I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to put it out there.
Only say it 2 times, though. Can't do it the third.
Yeah, don't say it 3 times. It's dangerous. I'm not going to say it 3 times in a row. But it comes down to really one person. And that is really wild. We are all talking over here about, apparently the numbers are going up again, where it was 43% of the web. Now it's 43.4. Something like it was going down and now it's gone up again. But so much of the web is being literally controlled by the whims of one person. And the whims of that one person influence a lot of other people, particularly people who work for his various companies. But if we wanted to really parse it down, right, we've got 4 main entities that are involved in the not leadership, but are the organizational, what are those things, cornerstones, organizational cornerstones of WordPress. That is WordPress.org/community services. It's actually WordPress Community Services that is a B Corp that runs the WordCamps and all of that, right? That is actually a B Corp owned by the WordPress Foundation, which is another layer, right? So it's another entity, the WordPress Foundation, of which Matt Mullenweg is on the board of directors of 3 people and is the chair of the board. So has all the power, obviously. Then there is Automatic, which we're all familiar with, also owned primarily by Matt Mullenweg. Obviously, there's been a lot of investment, B rounds, C rounds, A rounds, F rounds, whatever rounds there are. I don't know if F round's a thing, but I think it was in this case. There was definite F round in there somewhere.
Find it out at some point too, right?
Yeah. So for all intents and purposes, there's VC ownership. I don't know all the percentages of who owns what at Automatic, but at the end of the day, Matt's in control of Automatic also.
Right.
And then we have Matt Mullenweg, the person. Actually, sorry, we have 5 entities. So then we have Audrey Capital. Audrey Capital is a private investment company owned by Matt Mullenweg. And Audrey Capital employs multiple people who are volunteers I say volunteers in that tone on purpose, volunteers for WordPress core. Some of them listen to the show. They're probably not here today because they probably don't listen anymore because, it's stressful. So we have Audrey Capital, and a lot of those folks, well, there's only a handful of them, but those folks have really the keys to the castle. So it's not even the automaticians, the full-time sponsored automaticians who have the keys to the castle. It is primarily Audrey employees when we're talking about employees. So we've got WordPress Community Services and the WordPress Foundation. We've got Automatic. We've got Audrey Capital. And we have Matt Mullenweg, the person. Now, Matt Mullenweg, the person, owns WordPress.org, the domain, the actual website. Okay. So at the end of any of this, right, the website, WordPress.org, is essentially, and I mean, we use .org and .com to differentiate the project from the for-profit hosting platform, right? So it's really important, the .org component of this.
Right.
And not just in name. But he actually owns the website, the domain itself. So he has the deed to the castle, right? He has it. It's his own thing. He never gifted that. He gifted the trademark for WordPress to the foundation. And then the foundation granted in perpetuity a free license to use the trademark WordPress to the company Automatic. That is a unpaid, forever you can use this, and that is where the WordPress.com comes from. That granting of a license. So now we have 5 separate entities that are involved in the organization, the management, the literal administration of WordPress, the open source project.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Not only is it a lot of organizations, however, it is also WordPress Community Services is primarily staffed by automaticians who, and folks, I don't know if folks actually work for community services. I believe they do, which is the foundation of which, as we said, Matt is the board of directors. Matt is the CEO of Automatic. Matt is the owner of Audrey Capital. And Matt is, of course, the king of himself as well. The philosopher king of himself. He can be the philosopher king of himself. I won't grant the philosopher king of WordPress, but anyone can be whatever they want for themselves.
Sure.
We have 5 separate entities with different people connected to all of that. Automaticians connected to A8C, some board members connected to the foundation, community service people who do work for Automatic as well. Working, I don't know how those people even square what company they work for at a certain point. And then you have the folks who work directly for Matt via Audrey Capital. And then, of course, you have Matt, who has his own access to everything. He has root access to everything, all of the accounts, all of the domains, whatever. So at any point, as in last year, when we were talking about this stuff, he could basically be like, I'm taking my ball and going home. And to a certain degree, that is what is happening. There was this great tweet this week. I don't know if you can pull it up. And, you know,
I'd have to log into Twitter.
Right, you have to log in. Oh my God. The proprietary web is killing us all.
Let me just get my AOL CD real quick here and I'll
let me try to summarize. And let me tell you, agreeing with someone's sentiment about WordPress or an individual sentiment, I want to say here, does not endorse them or anything that they might do, because at this point, I don't have the capacity to go vet everybody. Okay, so
right.
We're going to just judge people on the one thing that we're talking about and not be like, well, that person, blah, blah, blah. Because I can't, right? Maybe they're a horrible person. And there are definitely some horrible people within WordPress, but considering the low bar of horrible people in WordPress that we've set, you know, I'm willing to forgive some nuance of not perfect.
All right.
So
we'll go with that.
And, I don't want to engage in, it was from Jason Coleman, and I don't want to engage in any discussion about WordPress in general or who's making decisions. Essentially, he said, my answer for all of this is Automatic can do whatever they want with their product. Yes. However, that is reductive, because as I just pointed out, there are literally 5 entities that are dealing with this. But what it really comes down to is we all know whose WordPress it is, because it wasn't even last fall. It was this spring in February, prior to the untimely death of the WordPress marketing team. There was a kerfuffle. You recall the kerfuffle about the Bay Bridge lights?
Oh yeah.
The Bay Bridge lights kerfuffle. Where Matt Mullenweg logged into the official WordPress.org Twitter, wished himself a happy birthday, and said that in honor of his birthday, we should all donate at least $10 to the Bay Bridge lights, which incidentally has definitely gone up. They've gone up now, so good job getting your donations. And the Bay Bridge lights now face both directions, so the people in Oakland can also see them, not just the rich people.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's altruism in action.
Geez, that is like that's like a train track right there, isn't it?
It's a train track.
It's like a suspended train track
with lights on it.
Yeah.
Now people on the other side of the train track can
finally see it
that they are on the other side of. So good for them. That must feel good.
Hashtag politics.
Hashtag politics. Hashtag socioeconomic problems. That's not a fun hashtag. Okay.
No.
So back in that day, Mr. Mullenweg, in the marketing channel, which has since been hiatused, said that WordPress is his and he can do whatever he wants with it. And I have that quoted in my Twitter if anyone wants to see it. And that the animosity surrounding any of these issues makes him want to pull all of his volunteers who are obviously not volunteering. If you can pull them, if you can mandatorily remove them, they're not volunteering. He can just remove all of his volunteers and see how that would go. Now, not only is that destabilizing to the ecosystem, where someone who is really supporting a good portion, financially supporting a good portion of the development team, if not, 95% of it, threatens to pull it, that is not a stable environment for other companies to build their businesses on. And now we all know there's a lot of other companies, and I'm not even just talking about the plugins or the themes. I'm talking about, the hosts, the big pocket folks. They're also making decisions about where to put their money, where to put their efforts. Do they put their efforts into their own website builders? Do they put their effort into, other proprietary systems? Do they link up to Squarespace, right? Those decisions are always happening. And so those companies are watching what is going on and making business choices based off of that. So, far from being the idle threats of a all-seeing ruler, this really does have impact throughout the land, the WordPress land. Now, I want to talk for a second about accountability.
Okay.
Yeah. So the far from being held accountable for those statements or for tweeting things on official accounts, in that instance, what we ended up doing in order to quell the discussion, I guess, just like move on from the ranting, was to change the rules of the WordPress marketing team to add a little caveat that says WordPress leadership can choose to do whatever they want. Essentially, they have root access. They can do whatever they want. Project leadership.
That sounds right.
Well, I mean, that is definitely the situation. Shortly after that, the marketing team was unceremoniously disbanded. Quite similar to how the Growth Council was unceremoniously disbanded in 2018. Just like, oh, by the way, we're not doing this anymore. So, one might say there's all sorts of reasons for that disbanding. I would say that the reason for that disbanding is because was saying too much about what was happening in the marketing team. Now, I haven't talked about this much. I've talked about it a little bit on Twitter. And, there's lots of ways to go about this. But essentially, something that I discovered was that the sponsored volunteers who were working on the WordPress.org marketing team, who in fact were leads of the team, managing all of the main stuff, and were enforcing the rules of we can't do SEO, we can't do XYZ, which was part of the whole kerfuffle last fall, wherein I filed my code of conduct report because I was saying, hey, you aren't letting us, Matt Mullenweg, you aren't letting us actually do SEO. So if you, as WordPress.com, are cloning the plugin directory and then saying, we'll just do more SEO, it's up to Google, but we're not allowed to do actual on-site, or, I mean, we could do like some on-site SEO, but we aren't allowed to do the big SEO things that we are able to do to maintain that domain dominance, essentially, of WordPress.org being the first that comes up. I mean, we're already fighting with WP Beginner, right? Everyone's doing stuff. You got your WP Beginner, and now you have your WordPress.com, which is now competing directly with WordPress.org. And I said, hey, so that'd be nice if we could actually do the SEO. And that is what spawned the entire the kerfuffle back in the spring or in the fall. So something that is really important to note is that those folks who were on the marketing team, and this information is actually in a GitHub issue we can link to in the show notes. Those folks who were on the WordPress marketing team as sponsored contributors, from full-time sponsored contributors to automatic, pledged via the 5 for the Future pledge as 40 hours a week to the WordPress marketing team. Okay, right? So when you hear that, you think these people are working full-time on WordPress.org marketing, right?
Right.
That's what, they're full-time sponsored contributors pledged 40 hours a week. Okay, great. They're working on .org. So my question was, of course, where is this happening? Where's the work happening that you're doing? Because we're not seeing it in our repos. We're not seeing it in our meetings. Stuff is just appearing. And of course, I was like, I believe that stuff's happening on Automatic's Slack and in Automatic's repos and in Automatic's conversational points. And, that's true, because that is where that's happening. But what I didn't know at the time, and what I do know now, is that those same people were also the full-time marketing team for WordPress.com.
Huh.
I'm going to let that sink in. I'm going to restate that for a second. So the volunteer sponsored contributors who were full-time sponsored contributor, being claimed to be full-time sponsored contributors via the 5 for the Future metric. And the page, it said it. I didn't write it. I didn't make it up. I'm not assuming this. That's what it said. I think they've changed it since. They were full-time for WordPress.org, quote unquote, but they were also the full marketing team for WordPress.com. So when we're up there talking about how WordPress.com is competing with WordPress.org, but it's the same people who are running both teams and won't allow us to do anything on .org, follows that is because they are trying actively to build the marketing of WordPress.com and repress the marketing of WordPress.org.
So the difference between the two of them by name is that TLD
is what?
.org or .com. Like those are literally like that. That's the difference. And so you just say WordPress. You're not lying because it's just WordPress.
Yeah, the difference is the .org team had, people like me over there trying to actually market .org, coming up with ideas, different things like, maybe we should do something with the mobile app. Maybe we should have a join page on the contributor, try to get people to contribute. I don't know, weird ideas like that. Is that we were active, it always felt like a battle, right? It's like, why are we fighting? Are we not all on the same page? Are we not all advancing WordPress? Why is there conflict here?
Right.
But it turns out the reason that there's conflict is that we're not on the same team. Okay, we were not on the same team, even though we were being told and everyone was pretending we were on the same team. We were not on the same team because those folks were working for .com and we were working for .org. And I don't know their official mandate, which is, did anyone say make sure .org can't, outrank .com, or make sure no good ideas happen in .org, make sure .org is not marketed. Like, I don't know how explicit those instructions were. I have no idea because I am not part of that. I do know that one of the team leads from last year, who was pledged 40 hours a week to the team, was told that they could only work on .org projects for 4 hours a week, despite the pledge next to their name that said they worked for the marketing team for 40 hours a week. So
4 for the future.
4 for the future. Just a little bit. It's really like just a bunch of lies for the future is what it is. Okay. So that is the situation, right? So we've got a big mishmash where people are not open about their roles, where the and again, this is just 2 of those 5 entities that we're talking about. Now, we tried to get some stuff done in the marketing team for Blogs to Blocks, which was our 20th anniversary thing that we did. And those, we tried to be like, hey, could we get badges for people's participation? Maybe we can make this a thing where people want to participate and be involved because they get a badge. People like badges, right? It's called gamification. Right. Heard of it? It's a thing. People like it.
Yeah,
it's a thing, right? So that was kiboshed by folks who work for Audrey Capital. So those no's came directly from Matt to those folks. So no badges, no gamifying any sort of involvement. And it's really, if you don't understand this underlying context of who's in control of these teams, of these mandates that people are, all these volunteer contributors, if you're just like, oh, we're all the same here. We're all volunteer contributors, but we're not all the same. And there's many sponsored contributors who are given, I don't know if it's free reign so much, but it is definitely a broad mandate of, maybe some folks are on the performance team. The performance team definitely has some sponsored contributors where it's like, make performance better and also bring that information back to the company so we can make our performance better, to work better. That is really different than a sponsored contributor working actively against the larger organization in order to benefit a specific company. And I mean, honestly, this is part of what that whole existential crisis GoDaddy thing that happened a few years ago. It's like GoDaddy has sponsored contributors, and it wasn't even so much does GoDaddy have an agenda with these sponsored contributors. It's just that they're not, giving enough or whatever it is. Like, and I think that was the breaking moment where, I don't know, I can only hypothesize about the state of mind of people.
Yeah.
COVID fever, whatever it is. But it was very clear that Matt realized that he was not making as much money as GoDaddy was making. I don't know. Maybe someone told him.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Like,
look at his bank balance. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the impetus was. I have a theory that it was about he wasn't invited to the AI conference at the White House, but that's just some
well,
theory.
I don't know. It's just really weird to have like the product, and the product also has a connection to the hosting, and the hosting is a competitor to all the other hosts that are in the ecosystem as well, and they're all named the same thing. Know? And it's just like if he just named the damn thing Jetpack and got over with it, I think a lot of this stuff would be kind of
I mean, I literally had the .com.org conversation this morning with my friend again, which I've had multiple times, and I never want to say that again. Like, I never want to explain that again. But I will explain it again. I think the this is what it comes down to, is that the idea of WordPress that we have all been operating under is that it is open source software, and that the community owns it, and that the foundation is there to oversee it, to make sure that it does not become a privatized entity, because that is actually part of what Matt said when he set that up, or what he has said subsequently about why he set that up, to make sure that WordPress was protected. Little did we know that it needed to be protected against Matt himself. I think I've talked about this before, the idea of Odysseus, the Greek myth, right? We might talked about that before, how he asked
this has come up.
Yeah, he asked his sailors to tie him to the mast so that he could hear the sirens, but not be taken, to the sirens. And so he's like, I know this might happen. I know there might be temptation, but I got to do it anyway. So hold me back. And that is essentially what the foundation did. However, now we are in a very clear, undo those ropes, soldiers, pull those off. I'm going to go jump in and swim to those sirens. The sirens being money.
Right.
Money. Because in the past 6 months, year, in addition to cloning the plugin directory, Automatic has now just, I think last week, announced 2 new programs, or multiple new programs over the past few months for agencies to have their own dev environments, much like, desktop server was back in the day. I don't know what the name of it is. But so that the agencies and devs can have, a back end version of .com. They introduced I don't know if they introduced or revamped or just marketing now, their affiliate program, that if you can now make money for recommending any Automatic product, so .com or WooCommerce or whatever else it is. They've had that affiliate program for quite some time, because that's how they tried to do to work with my company back in 2019 when we were trying to do a pilot program for small businesses. They're like, oh, we can just work, you can get, affiliate money off of all this. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to develop an entire curriculum. I did develop an entire curriculum, but I'm not going to give you this entire curriculum so that you can give me 2% of what someone might, sign up for their business plan or something like that.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. But anyway, so they've kind of revamped, relaunched their affiliate program. So now if you recommend any paid automatic programs, you can get money. So that's a strict, like trying to entice people to devs specifically, or freelancers or agencies, to recommend WordPress.com hosting, or, is it WP Cloud, whatever all their different services are now, right? So we've got, whether it's VIP or it's whatever it is, there's now financial incentive for that. And they have the cloud, which is now, I don't know how this relates to Jetpack, or where Jetpack or VaultPress fits into the cloud. Like, I don't know. I'm so tired of everybody's names. But the cloud concept that you can now, host, you basically use WP Cloud as like server storage, right? So I don't know if it's a CDN. I don't even know. Cosper would know, but he's not here, so he can't.
Yeah.
It's like just
it's like an S3 thing maybe, or something. Who knows?
I don't know. The point is that they're basically really tripling, quadrupling, whatever it is, down on everybody coming home to automatic. At the most recent WordCamp US, not this one that I'm wearing the shirt for, because all my shirts are still WordCamp US, but the it was this one in Maryland, in Washington. I thought this was San Diego for a second. It is not. During Matt's talk, his keynote speech for WordPress, the open source project, he announced his WordPress.com 100-year hosting plan. And
I remember this one.
At that point, like we had all sort of respected the conflict of interest, sort of respected
separation between the two.
Separation between church and state. And I feel like this was a clear moment in which Matt was like, yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. WordPress.com is mine. This pulpit is mine. I can say whatever I want because WordPress is mine. And so why shouldn't I be able to promote WordPress.com in a WordPress.org context? So at that point, he has tossed that separation out the window.
Were there stickers for his new thing on like the elevators when people left? Like, did it get that far? I mean, it could have gotten that far.
And .com and all that, they're all sponsors. I mean, Jetpack is. I don't actually know if .com is a sponsor. I think that might also be like one of the last, like, .com is the sponsor, but Jetpack is, respecting that separation again. But I mean, I don't know what's happening. Like maybe at WordPress.com now, maybe at WordCamp Europe, WordPress.com has a table. I don't know. Someone can tell us if they want.
Right.
So I don't know how far that's actually gone, but we know that last year it definitely the lines were blurred. Now, since then, the plugin repo has been cloned. Since then, the marketing team has been disbanded, and in its place was created the Media Core, which is essentially a public relations team. And that Media Core, even admittedly in the posts for it, say, well, gosh, these are all automaticians who are running this team, and that's just temporary. They did bring in some contributors. I'm going to use that word lightly because I love Bob Dunn. I do. He's a good guy. He's got a cool podcast world, does the WooCommerce thing, tries to empower people. He's sponsored by Automatic. He gets money from Automatic. And he was brought in as the independent outside, contributor onto the Media Core. So even the independent non-automatician person on the Media Core is still, sorry, Bob, controlled, owned by Automatic. Yes, he has other sponsors. He moved all of the whole website over to .com. It's all Automatic. I guarantee you all the links are affiliate links using their program. Like, it's in. And I'm not faulting Bob for that. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that is the case.
Right.
So we went from having a marketing team where folks, including myself, were attempting to improve WordPress, attempting to figure out our target market, attempting to, really just like do basic marketing for the project, which people complain about constantly. Like, why is there not more marketing for .org? Why is there not, we literally last year put in a link into the admin that brought people to contributing. Like, that didn't exist.
Right.
This is 20 years later, and it did not exist to say, come contribute or come be a part of the community. Like, I was one of the people who put it in, so I know this, right?
Yeah.
So far from like trying to expand the WordPress.org footprint, the teams, the non-existent marketing team, the media core team, we are now actively working to compress that world. So it is a much more narrow mandate for the WordPress.org world, right? It's just much smaller. It's not like WordPress and you can use it all these different ways. It's like WordPress is this tiny core thing over here, and then WordPress.com is the main thing. And that is intentional. Like I will say, when things are speculation, this is not speculation. This is real. It's intentional, right? So we've got all of that situation. We have 5 entities, all controlled by one person.
So whose WordPress is it?
Whose WordPress is it, y'all? Who are we all working for free?
We've only been talking for 41 minutes, but I'm still confused as to whose WordPress is it.
Are you confused?
I'm very confused.
Here's the thing. No matter if that person is in charge of 5 entities and can do whatever they want, they are like the ideal that this is a free and open source software, that this is something that we all are contributing to, that this is benefiting us. Like, we're not even able to, the marketing team can't even influence anything. We didn't want product roadmaps. It was all a bunch of crap. No one asked for any of the stuff that Josefa, executive director of WordPress.org, who also works full-time for Matt Mullenweg, as do all of project leadership, said, oh, it was because the marketing team wanted all these things they can't have. That's just not true. It's just not true. It's not what we want. No one was asking for that at all. So it's just, there's a bunch of lying. There's a bunch of false pretenses, like, oh, this company over here and this company over here. No, it's all the same entity, and it's all controlled by the same person. And that person has, essentially carte blanche in their companies to mandate what they want to have happen. They control Gutenberg. Matt essentially controls Gutenberg, which is led and at a rapid pace. We've talked about in previous shows how people are dropping out of Gutenberg development because it's A, so fast, B, there's no documentation for the development components, and it's confusing because it's like,
or the documentation's on some other domain entirely that's not even tied into any of this stuff.
Yeah, you think?
Just goes to show you that there's a lot of a lot behind that. It's
yeah. So I mean, Gutenberg now is where which we've talked about a lot. Gutenberg is now leading the development. Everything that happens in Gutenberg gets shoved into Core. So Core is barely doing anything in terms of new development. All of that's happening in Gutenberg, and Gutenberg is led by developers who are paid by Matt out of his money, whether it's Automatic or Audrey. So it's not like Gutenberg has like open discussions about like how we're doing this, right? We get an admin post that's like, 12 pages long that tells us basically what's going to happen. And, maybe you have some feedback that will probably be ignored. So, this is all old stuff in general. The thing that I haven't talked about that I want to talk about here now, 44 minutes into the show. So for anyone reading the transcript, this is the part right here that you should highlight. I should just say talking for 44 minutes, really.
I've timed that
there's
also twice.
There's no accountability, okay? Not only is there any accountability in terms of decisions that are being made for WordPress, there is no accountability in that behavior or in the ethicalness or the behavior of Matt, who is in control of all of these entities. So as we all know, I filed a code of conduct report last October against Matt. And I have not talked about this publicly. I publicly posted the code of conduct violation that I went through, and then I didn't publish more because I wanted to respect that process. And originally I published it because I knew if I didn't publish it, there would be no accountability, and that would go literally nowhere. Subsequently, I did not publish the results of that finding because I was really trying to see what would happen. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it here now. The results of that were that the independent committee, I requested no one who worked for Automatic be on the incident response team that worked on my case because I didn't want one of his employees deciding the situation. Weird, I know. So the letter of the findings that went from that team to me and to Matt, and I'm assuming to Josefa, but I don't know that. But I think the executive director finds out about stuff, but maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I know Matt got it, and I know I got it. And it said unequivocally, it supported all of my assertions in my code of conduct. And it said that Matt did engage in bullying and harassment of me and others, and that he subsequently continued to harass me after and bully me after he was requested by the incident response team after I followed the code of conduct to go no contact. He said he agreed to that, which he did not do. And that was when he, the whole I want to be in your Discord chat, fun time. They said that if he continues his behavior, that they will have to suggest more stronger action, let's say. And then they required that he no longer engage in that behavior. I have not been monitoring Matt's tweets or anything else since then. I don't know what behavior he's been engaging in since then. Besides doxing people on Tumblr and, whatever else he's doing, like posting, great replacement theory books or whatever's going on. Fun. The other thing that they asked in that is they recommended, now they didn't require this, but they requested that Matt offer a public apology to me. Now, I would like to tell you here, this is breaking news, that did not happen.
Oh, it wasn't the lights on the other side of the bridge?
Yeah, there's just more lights. So I waited until he went on sabbatical. And he didn't apologize beforehand. He went on a sabbatical for 3 months, conveniently timed. Waited. He got back. Still no apology. And not only was there no apology, but then there was the retaliation. The retaliation of, we are going to close your entire team. We are going to take away your entire team that you have been contributing for the last, I don't know, what is it, like 12 years or ridiculous, whatever amount of time it is. That is the report. They said, yes, he was bullying. Yes, he was harassing me, and that he should apologize. He did not. And subsequently, a whole other issue I was having where I had been issued a correction for my behavior, which was apparently threatening to somebody at WordCamp US in October. Originally, I was issued what's called a correction. And he's like, hey, this was a thing, come correct, essentially, next time, like, watch your thing. Retroactively, after that was published, they changed that correction to a warning. Now, a warning holds more weight than a correction. A correction doesn't count against you in the same way. A warning, I now have 2 warnings. Fun world. We're not going to talk about that. But if you want to talk to me about it, feel free to message me. I'm happy to share. I have 2 warnings, and they said, yes, we've changed that. It was our mistake. It was originally supposed to be a warning, not a correction. They linked to it. It was all in my formal letter. And now if I do anything that is against the, like essentially if I do anything more that would cause problems, for example, publishing a code of conduct report, that I could be banned from WordPress, from the WordPress community.
Huh.
Because retroactively.
The .org or the .com side? Just curious.
No, I can buy as many .com things as I want. They're like, yeah, go for it. I could probably be an affiliate, no problem. You can probably be an affiliate even if you're like a total scumbag. I bet there's no vetting there. Anyway, so excuse me. I was really not sure what to do about that. Like, should I publish this? Should I not publish this? I don't want to get banned from WordPress. I really love my community. I don't want to I might want to opt out of being as involved, but I would like them to not be banned, right? Like where they take away your .org profile and they take away your access to everything and like you have nothing left, right? You can't even be involved. And I would really like that not to happen. I would still like that not to happen. But I am tired of protecting people who are actively causing harm. And this is part of my new approach, I guess one might say, is that if you are actively causing harm, even if it might harm me to say something, if I have the ability to say something or to point out a truth or an issue, I will do it. Because I am in a privileged enough position where Matt can't call my employer and try to get me fired, which he has done to people I know. But he can't do that to me because my clients do not care about him at all. So go ahead and call them all, Matt. They don't care. And I have my own agency, my own company, so I'm protected. That is also part of why we're having this conversation today, where our colleague, Jason Cosper, who does work at another a WordPress company, we don't want him to incur any wrath. Tucker and I are not owned by anybody. We are not sponsored by anybody. We are not employed by anybody that Matt can touch. Therefore, do your worst. And I guess the worst would be banning me from WordPress.
I just like PHP, and then he kept talking about JavaScript, and I was like, "Damn you!"
Damn it, React is so terrible. I don't even mind JavaScript. It just React is really
yeah.
Okay, so I guess we should probably wrap it up because I've been talking for an hour. But I did want to put that out there that this is so when we talk about whose WordPress is it, the WPCC just launched yesterday a new program, the WordPress Community Collective, called Incentivizing DEIB in WP. We have a awesome GoDaddy fellowship happening. So the Incentivizing DEIB program, hopefully we'll talk about it in a separate topic, is essentially giving stipends to people who are out there advocating DEIB, doing talks, moderating panels, being on panels, who are bringing public attention to DEIB and doing public advocacy of these things, because we want to raise awareness and educate our community on these issues. So I'm part of an organization that is paying people to go to WordCamps. I have a partnership through the WPCC. We have a partnership with GoDaddy to give people fellowships to support them going to WordCamps. We have an accessibility fellowship that will be ending soon, which we have, which is to increase accessibility in WordPress. So I am over here actively working to create systems that allow at least some trickle of support to help people do these things within WordPress. And at the same time, there's, and I'm just one person doing this. There's so many people working towards WordPress. Right now, there's, 2,000 people or something wild at WordCamp Europe, talking about how great WordPress is and promoting it and doing all this stuff. But if Matt, and yes, Matt specifically, I'm not blaming all the automaticians. I am talking about Matt. Matt, that's you, Matt Mullenweg, is really just wanting that market share and is essentially pulling in all the stops, calling in all the chips, as it were. I think it's really important to have that discussion. And this discussion is very forbidden at WordCamps. It's really forbidden within the WordPress world in general. But it's something we need to talk about, and we need to talk about it more openly, because at any time, Matt could, in theory, take his ball and go home. Matt owns WordPress.org. He is in control of all of the Slack. Automatic pays for the hosting. Believe that it's Automatic that pays for a good portion of the systems that WordPress.org uses. It's not even Audrey. I mean, whether it's Audrey Capital paying for it, or Matt paying for it, or Automatic paying for it, they're very, very closed about where that support comes from, where the budget for .org comes from, where those monies are coming and going from. So this is an important question. So an hour in, I know the answer of whose WordPress is it. I know the answer of whose WordPress it should be, and whose WordPress we have been told that it is, which is all of ours. Free open source software with a robust community. It's supposed to be ours, and not in an open way, because it's free open source software. Like, it's supposed to not be owned, right? And ideally, the foundation would protect it, but the foundation cannot protect itself from its own board, president. The foundation cannot protect itself from Matt, because the foundation is Matt. So WordPress, the project, is completely at the mercy of a single individual. And that individual, by the way, is not even the only founder of WordPress. Like, he's not the only one who made it. There's this other guy, Mike Little, who, by the way, did you know has been working in WordPress for the last 10 years? He's still around. I can't imagine how mind-boggling frustrating that is, to be like, I'm also the co-founder of WordPress, but you wouldn't know it because of that.
It was about the PHP and the JavaScript and the CSS and in the database that made it all work. And then everybody just ran off and built a bunch of stuff with it.
Stuff that was forked to make it in the first place. But the end of the day is, I don't think it has to be like this. I don't think it should be like this. But unless we admit to ourselves, to each other, and we essentially call it out in an Emperor's New Clothes kind of way, for those of you who are familiar with that story, that fairy tale, we can all just keep pretending that this is a community effort. Matt has slowly replaced most of the volunteers and contributors on the teams within WordPress.org with paid automaticians, paid people. So most, back in the day, we needed open source, right? Like, he needed those people to help build the product. He needed volunteers. He needed the community. Now he's got money to be able to hire people and control them, because that's the problem with actual volunteers. You can't control them, right? But you can control your employees. And that is essentially what is happening. So Automatic is essentially putting all of its sponsored volunteers into the leadership positions of all of the teams. And again, it is not these individual people's fault. A lot of them are amazingly good people. A lot of them understand the conflicts, and only some of them are acolytes defending the leadership and refusing to acknowledge, the reality of it. But I put that upon us. I put that upon us as the community, anyone listening to this, reading the transcript, folks at WordCamp Europe. Please talk about this. Please bring this up. Please talk about this with your hosting companies. Please talk about this with your fellow WordPressers. Please talk about this with anybody that you can talk to about it, because, we talk a lot about what the problems in WordPress are. And I'm pretty sure that I know what the problem is. There's this expression, there's a Yiddish expression, that is, the fish stinks from the head. I don't know if you've heard that before.
I've not heard that one yet.
It's like so where goes the leader goes the group, right? So if we allow this to happen, it will happen, right? Like, people like me will leave the community. Maybe I'll be banned for talking about this. Maybe I won't. incidentally, Matt did say it's published in public now, so he doesn't care if people are public. I have a screenshot of it, so I didn't violate his wishes in talking about this. So,
right.
Hopefully we'll see. But if I disappear, that's where I went. At least it's not Boeing, right? And I have to worry about being offed or something. I just have to worry about my .org profile being murdered, not my actual person.
Right.
At least I don't think so. Anyway, so I just think we need to stop pretending. We need to stop pretending that we don't see what's happening, because we already know what's happened with Gutenberg. We already know what's happening with the site editor. We already know what's happening with the site admin, right? And the individual automaticians trying their best to involve the community. I commend you. It's not your fault. But I don't expect those people to go against the person paying their bills and, giving them health insurance. It's just, it's in America anyway, it's just not going to happen. So even if they wanted to support or be more open, they can't be. So for all of those of us who complain about WordPress, I talking about whose WordPress it is, whose WordPress it should be, Matt's response to this is always, if you don't like it, you can fork it, which is essentially just saying, go fork yourself. And I'm not saying we should fork it. I'm not saying we shouldn't fork it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of us and there's one of him. And I don't say that as a mob. I say that as a mindset, as a way to understand that WordPress is and should be bigger than this one person. This one person who is not being held accountable, who's not holding themselves accountable, who is not being held accountable by the code of conduct, who is not being held accountable by the rules set up by the marketing team, who is not being held accountable in any form by anybody. I think that the community and the leaders within the community, you know who you are, should be holding this person accountable and stop enabling this situation. Because otherwise, what are we going to go all do? Go build sites in Wix? We're just going to go, it's splintering. We all know it's splintering. If we don't want it to splinter, we would like WordPress to continue. If we would like WordPress to maintain its existence as a real community and not just a subsidiary, an open source subsidiary of Matt, then we need to speak up and stop being so dang scared of this dude and his acolytes, because if we do, he's already won, and maybe he has already won, and maybe it doesn't matter. But I do know that no one's holding him accountable, and we should. And that is the end of my rant.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And here's our outro.
Sorry, everybody.
Hey.
Over here, we'd really appreciate it. You can find us wherever it is that you listen and watch to various videos and audios and whatnot. And we'll talk to you all later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.